Foster carers arrived at Parliament today with the support of a number of MSPs to campaign for what they see as a less bureaucratic approach to fostering.
We're holding this event where we've encouraged foster carers to come along and speak to their MSPs about the need for a central register for foster carers. At the moment we're one of the very few areas of regulated work that doesn't have a central licensing body. So for instance, teachers have got, there's one that looks after teachers, there's the NMC that looks after nurses and midwives, obviously the General Medical Council that has overarching control for doctors, but there's nothing similar for foster carers. So it means that all 32 local authorities in Scotland, as well as about 20 odd independent agencies, all have their own training systems, all make up their own, all organise things in their own way, and there's a real lack of consistency. Lots of foster carers are very well trained, but unfortunately some aren't, and we believe that every child who's in foster care in Scotland should be looked after by a very well trained, well supported foster carer to give them the best chance of making the most of their life. I think because foster care is always, or children who've been in the care of the state have always been in the care of the local authority, so it's kind of grown up around that model. I suppose originally back in the day it would have been kind of the parish that would have looked after perhaps orphan children who needed care. Obviously things have evolved now. There's much more regulation around about what children should have in place, but one thing that hasn't moved on is the kind of approval and the oversight of foster care on a national, on a Scotland-wide basis, and we really feel there should be some sort of central control over that.
But what about detractors who claim that this would lower the influence of local authorities?
I think for local authorities it could potentially save them quite a lot of money, because you've got some quite small local authorities who are trying to put together their own training programmes and do work with perhaps only 20 or 30 foster carers, where you've got other agencies, you've got other places like Glasgow which has got over 400 foster carers, and so there's a real overlap of work getting done because everybody's making up their own courses and delivering their own courses, whereas if there was a more central approach, I think it would save money.
MSPs were also vocal as well as visible in their support.
Because it is actually such a simple thing to do, the central register, where you don't have to duplicate all the bureaucracy from one council to the next, so that when you move from one area to the other, you can have that common understanding. But also that we have standards that are as high as they possibly can be right across the country, so we can all have the confidence in the system that I think it needs to have.
Certainly foster carers looking for such new legislation will have to influence as many MSPs as possible to enact change. Ian McNally, That's TV.